The world's brightest stars, Angelina Jolie, announces she's had a double mastectomy. Will this empower women right across the universe? Shooting star, model and businesswoman Katie Price explores our deep space.
If only everybody in the public eye could be as honest as Angelina, this world would be a much better place.
Commencing countdown engines on. The revelation by one of the world's most beautiful women, movie star Angelina Jolie, that she's undergone a double mastectomy has been widely praised around the world. So will her honesty help empower women to take further control of their lives and their bodies in a way that the words of politicians often fail to achieve?
I think she's a very brave lady to not only to carry on with her work so well during such treatment, but also to write about it now and talk about it.
This week, the Archbishop of Canterbury's daughter, Catherine Welby, spoke openly about her ongoing battle with depression, a subject that's always been surrounded by stigma and innuendo.
The turning point for me was when I started to think of it as an illness rather than me. And that's when I began to be able to have the space in my head to work out coping.
So do highly personal statements help empower and give people the strength to stand tall, just like the 1920s, when women achieved the right to vote and to control the height of their hemlines? Or are we fooling ourselves that a woman's image is no longer considered their most important attribute? And we're joined by Katie Price. Welcome to the programme.
Hi, I'm glad you've got me up. It's very late.
I know that. But, you have to do your duty by
Yes,
public
you do.
service broadcasting.
Exactly.
We're right in thinking, aren't we, that Angelina Jolie's done something quite extraordinary this week?
Absolutely. I mean, I was shocked when I read it myself. The fact, what I like about it is she went away, had it done, and then publicly she's spoken about it in such a way I hope people be inspired to go and get checked. Definitely.
And also, I think, is it also right to the fact that she's such a famous actress, such a beautiful actress, that kind of added to the poignancy of it?
Well, personally, I don't think just because she's beautiful or anything, but as an outsider, you would look at her and think, oh my God, this lady has got everything. She's got the looks, the husband, the kids. She does a lot for charity. She's intelligent. And it just goes to show it can happen to absolutely anybody.
So,
and, yeah, go on.
Personal confessions can have an impact.
Absolutely. Like myself, being in the public eye, I had postnatal depression, and obviously having a disabled child, I think it's good when you're in a situation that you can speak out, because people do get inspired and hopefully can act on it.
Because it's true that with Angelina Jolie, people have taken notice of this in a way they would never have done if it hadn't been for this global name, almost a brand.
Definitely. I mean, like myself, you know, a lot of people say, because I've had cosmetic surgery and everything, but if I was in the same situation as her, I wouldn't hesitate, you know. I admire her. She's got a family, she's thinking of her family, her future and everything. I think it's fantastic, and I would do exactly the same thing.
So, Tessa, well, does an act like this, does it empower women? Does it embolden women in the world?
I think, I agree with Katie. I mean, I think that what she's done is dignified and very brave and very inspirational. And I think, I read her New York Times piece where she set out what had happened to her, and I was very impressed by the kind of lack of drama, the very measured way in which she described what had happened to her. But I think that, the organisations that, have got a huge amount of expertise in this would say that of itself is not enough to reduce the avoidable deaths from breast cancer. I mean, this gene, the BRCA1 gene, is actually very rare. It's about 1 in 20 of the 50,000 women who get breast cancer every year. And so it doesn't mean that just because you haven't got the faulty, as it's described, gene, you shouldn't do all the other things.
Sure, no, I understand all that, but I mean, just sticking with the Angelina Jolie, the impact of that, I thought it was also interesting, Michael, the manner in which she chose to do it, which was a rather dignified article in the New York Times, not the most sensational of newspapers in the world, rather than a big TV interview on with Barbara Walters.
I think the whole thing has been magnificently done. And by the way, if you look at the timetable of her engagements over the last few months, I mean, she's had to go through various stages of surgery, and in between the stages of surgery, she's been out there again at world summits, at the G8 summit, as we've seen with William Hague. I wonder if I can just raise a slightly different issue. What's happened here is that there is a gene that predicts, in her case, that she has an 87% chance of getting breast cancer or ovarian cancer. This is going to be more and more a part of our lives. More and more we're going to find genetic predictors. And more people are going to be presented with very difficult choices. I mean, in her case, she had an 87% chance. So in a way, the choice was simplified. It's going to be very tricky when people are offered 40% chances, 30% chances, 35% chances. Very tricky, but that is the world we're going to be moving into.
It's interesting, though, the politicians talk about this, and public health sets out what you should do and so on. But to capture the public imagination, it often takes a major celebrity to get us talking about it.
I agree, you know, politicians, they speak out and stuff, but on another way, if you are in the public eye, it can be just as powerful as a politician, in that's what I think personally. I mean, you can, like, I agree, Angela done it in such a dignified way, whereas you can look at Jade Goody, she filmed her whole steps of it. You know, everyone does it differently. But both of them, you've got to admire both, they both made awareness for it. And people should treat their body, you know, like a car. It needs an MOT, you should always get checked and never think, oh, it will never happen to me, because it can actually happen to anyone.
Michael's body's a temple, it's not a car.
Andrew, I think there's also another issue here, which is tackling taboos, because you know, there is.
That was a big element of her statement.
Exactly. That, you know, if you have had your breasts removed, are you somehow less of a woman? Are you less attractive? And again, you see, I agree with you, Michael. I think the sensitivity with which this was managed was communicating about that at every level, including that Brad Pitt had been there when she had the surgery, and, you know, was so involved in it and so forth. And then every newspaper was on its front page had a picture of her looking gorgeous. And I mean, the other thing I would just like to say, because this week is what's called Dying Matters Week, and it began with a lecture in memory of Philip Gould, who had similarly, who was a Labour Party strategist, very loved by the Labour Party, and he had also documented the last stages of his life, rather like Jade Goody. And that did, you know, the lecture on Monday night with the organisations there that are working to help people have better deaths by being able to do all the things before they die and say the things that they want to say. It's tackling those taboos.
Maybe we wouldn't be having this measles outbreak at the moment if Mr. Blair had been more explicit in the height of the MMR scandal about what he had done with his kids.
No, Andrew, we wouldn't be having this measles epidemic had a rogue doctor not secured very substantial support.
Sure, but Mr. Blair wouldn't come out in public and say what he had done with his children. That could have made a difference. Yeah, but if why didn't the Prime Minister come out?
Look, you cannot turn Tony Blair into the villain of the measles epidemic.
I'm not turning into the villain. I'm just saying if it's so good for Angelina Jolie, which we're all agreed it is, to come out and make a public statement, here was an opportunity for a politician to do the same, and they didn't do it.
All right, perhaps the difference is Angelina Jolie is an adult, and, you know, this was revelation conducted with full consent. The measles epidemic is not analogous. So that was a rogue doctor.
Always finish an argument. We like to tease her about
We
Mr.
all like
Blair.
domestics, don't we?
Exactly. Katie, thanks for being with us
Thanks
tonight.
very much.
At last,
Thank
we
you.
got you on the show. That's your
Yes,
lot for
thank
tonight,
you.
folks, but not for us, because it's Thursday night fever night at Annabelle's. And after Diane Abbott's claim that we're suffering from a crisis of masculinity, Michael's